welcome to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host. Thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day today. I greatly appreciate it. Well, we're going to talk to a wonderful actress based in New York City. Her name is Ayana Major Bey. And Ayana, thank you so much for being here today. I greatly appreciate it.
Of course, Deborah. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Now, I found you through the Actors Fund. They think so much about you. And I'd like to kind of take you back to your beginnings, because I know the viewer would love to get to know you. Tell us about yourself.
Okay, where do I start? So born and raised in New Jersey, and I still actually live here, 30 minutes out of the city.
Okay.
So, born going into the city as a child, went in and saw Ragtime, my first Broadway show, when I was only in middle school. And so that was the bug that bit me. And so since then, I went, in high school, I did the school play and the musical and all of that. And then I went to Montclair State University and majored in musical theater. And then I worked for about 5 years. And then I went off to grad school and I got my master's in classical acting from the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland. So I lived in the UK for almost a year and a half and then came back to the US. And since then have been working in musical theater, regional theater, international theater, cruise ships, you name it, I've done it.
Did you know as a child growing up that you wanted to pursue an acting career?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was the child who would put on shows. I'd force my parents and my sister to watch me. And they're just like, again? And, they would indulge me. So yes, since I'm going to say probably about 8 years old, I knew that I wanted to be an actress. And I have family members who constantly remind me of like, you remember when, you said you were young, you were going to be an actress? Well, I'm very proud of you. You're doing it. So yeah, I knew since I was young.
And I know that there are many viewers that are very interested in either pursuing an acting career or are pursuing one now. Do you recommend that they study along the way or get an acting coach or do something professional to be able to become a professional actor?
Mm-hmm. I do. I think that everybody's path is different. And so you have to figure out what your path is. Some people graduate high school and move right to New York City or to LA or to Chicago, whatever city they want to be in. And some choose to get a formal college education. Some choose to go to a, 1-year program that's just like a quick degree in theater or in stage management or whatever it may be. And so I personally do think that some type of education will benefit you in pursuing your acting career. And that, over time, you'll begin to book these professional jobs. And then you can say, yes, I'm a professional actor. So everybody's path is different. You just have to find what's the best path for you.
Do you believe that it is hard to pursue being an actor? I mean, is New York City the place to go?
It is hard being an actor. Not gonna lie to you, it is. But if you love it, that the hardships that you have of pursuing an acting career will slowly fade away. And New York is a particular market. New York is musical theater. It's also TV and film. It's also voiceovers. But LA is a completely different market. I've actually never been out to LA to live. I've visited, but never lived in LA. But I know from friends who are out there that it's definitely more a movie, TV and film scene. And so it depends on where you want to live because each market is different. New York is different. LA is different. Chicago's different. Atlanta's different. So in pursuing your acting career, you need to ask yourself, what city do I want to live in? What medium do I want to pursue? Is it just theater? Is it just TV and film? Or maybe it's improv. And in questioning what you want to pursue, that will lead you, I think, to the right city you'd like to live in. But yes, it is hard. But if you love it and you're passionate about it, it's so worth it.
Did you know also that musical theater was calling you? Is that your wonderful dream that you love doing?
Yes, it is. Musical theater has always been my dream. And like I said, I think it was Ragtime that did it when I was younger because I knew I could sing. I grew up in church, so I sang in church and also did the plays in church. And I'm a storyteller. I like to tell stories. I clearly talk with my hands, very animated. So I think when I saw musical theater, it was all of those things put together of someone's singing, someone's telling a story, someone's being animated. Oh, that's what I like. Like those are all of the things that I do already. So for me, yes, musical theater has been my avenue and my path, and slowly branching into other things, but musical theater is definitely what brought me into the arts.
Now, you also studied abroad. What was that like?
It was great. It was great. I loved living in Scotland. And for me, because I did the Masters of Classical Acting, that took me out of musical theater into Shakespeare, which is actually more connected than people think, especially the musicality of Shakespeare and the writing and the iambic pentameter. So it was amazing to me. And working with I had classmates and colleagues from literally all over the world in my class. And so that was one of the best things, was to work with artists from all over the world.
Did you think at all that you would stay there and perform and live, or did you know you were going to come back to the States?
Actually, I thought that I was going to stay, but to be honest, the year that I moved over there and then graduated, they removed the postgraduate visa. So I had friends who had actually studied at the school, and they were like, oh, great, you can get a postgraduate visa and stay in the UK for 2 years afterwards. And that was going to be my plan. And then I graduated, and they were like, oh, we no longer have that visa. You have to go home. It's like, okay, guess I'm going home.
And then how was it for you to come back to the States? Was it like a culture shock?
To be very honest, no, it was not, because I had already booked a job. So I had a friend who was working at a theater and was like, so I'm directing the show and I'd love for you to be in it when you get back home. And I was like, okay. So I think I was home for maybe a week and a half, and then I went to another contract. So for me, my adjustment was being thrown right back into musical theater.
The one thing that I enjoyed a tremendous amount when I started to get to know you is your website. Tell us about that.
Yes. Well, my website, ayanabey.com, is just a collection of me, a collection of what I've done. Some of my history. I have a little bio about myself, of course, living in New Jersey, saw ragtime for the first time, all of that. And it's pictures as well from my shows. I have videos up there from theater. I have some commercials that I've done. I also have some voiceover work on my website. So it's a beautiful collection of me.
How long have you been back from Scotland? And then how long has the website been up?
Yes. I've been back from Scotland, going on 5 years now. Yeah, so I say home in quotation mark for 5 years, because I'm never home. I'm always on a contract somewhere, off, for 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 2 months or, a year. My last contract was a year. And so I've been home in the United States of America for about 5 years. And my website has actually been up since I graduated college in 2009, but it has gone through many, many, many revamps. And so the current revamp has been up, I would say, maybe about 2 years, but it's been up for a length of a time. It's just had some remodeling.
Now, you have been successful in your work. How did you secure an agent or management to be able to take care of you and book you?
So when I started off, I was non-union, which means not a part of SAG or a part of Actors Equity. I had no union representing me. And I was non-union for about 8 years. And that, for me, was auditioning on my own. So looking up auditions, on some sites we have are like playbill.com or backstage.com or Actors Access. And so daily looking for auditions, going, does this role fit me? Would I like to play this role? Are they having an open call? Is it an agent call? And since I didn't have an agent at that point, I would email casting directors, say, hey, my name is Ayana Major Bey. I don't have an agent, but I was wondering if I can, book myself for an audition appointment. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes it didn't, and so that was trial and error until I got my agent in 2017. I got my current agency, and they actually started representing me after they came to see a show that I was in. So I have a castmate who is with them as well, and they came to see her in the show. Then after the show, they were like, Ayana, we'd love to talk about representation when you get back to New York City. And so I got my legit agent, as we call it, that does TV and film and theater, through them coming to see another cast member of mine in a show. And so I also joined the union the year before. So I was a union member, and then I got my agent. So I was on my own for about 8 years, though, pounding the pavement and figuring it out, by myself and building up my skills. And then for me, when I look back, when the time was right, I joined the union and got my agent. And so now I'm working in tandem with them to book myself.
Now for, again, the actors that are watching us today, do you recommend doing the non-union path and then trying to secure an agent and doing the way that you are doing it now? Is that a proper way to pursue an acting career?
So again, I think that's going to vary person to person. I had colleagues who right out of school secured an agent. And then I had colleagues like myself who didn't. And so first entering this career path, knowing that your path is different, literally different than anybody's. And so coming into it, know that you're going to have to put some work in. So it's either being non-union and pounding the pavement yourself, or if you're fortunate enough to have an agent sign you as soon as you move into the city or graduate school, great, you can go down that path as well. So there's no concrete way to pursue an acting career. There isn't. But know that if that is something that you want, yes, I want an agent and I want representation, work towards it. But don't put your career on hold saying, I'm not going to go audition for this because I don't have an agent. While you're pursuing and looking for an agent, you can also be auditioning and putting yourself out there and contacting casting directors or seeing if your friend is directing something, So work at the same time on your own career and finding the agent.
Okay, let's hold that thought. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You're tuned into Arts and Entertainment. We're going to take a break.
I'm here to talk about how we're going to defeat COVID-19. Well, we got to bring our A game. What's our A game? Here's the strategy. Get tested, stay social distancing, wear masks. Community Health Center has testing sites all over the Connecticut, open 7 days a week, and they're free for anybody, babies, students, senior citizens, anybody. So go in and get tested. That's how we can all stay undefeated.
Find a location near you at chc1.com.
Community TV, your neighborhood TV.
Publicly funded and a reliable partner for cable companies nationwide, it provides transparent coverage of local and state government, education, and public programming.
A digital town green that can be watched anywhere, anytime, and on any device.
Watch us on today's high-tech distribution methods.
Community TV in Connecticut.
Local,
unfiltered,
reliable, and yours.
Welcome back to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host. Again, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I greatly appreciate it. Well, we're talking with actress Ayana Major Bey, who's based in New Jersey and works all over the world, and I'm thrilled to have her continue to stay with us today. And Ayana, thank you so very much again for staying with us. We appreciate it.
Of course, thank you.
You know what? The first thought that people are going to want to know about is COVID. How has that affected you and your work?
Right. Okay. So where do I start with this one? So the beginning of 2020, I got cast in a show, and I had left New Jersey and gone to Virginia to do this show. I was in a production of Dreamgirls. And so we were in rehearsal for about 2 weeks. And then the theater was like, yeah, we have to close everybody. Sorry, Virginia governor is now mandating. Okay, I have to go home. Great. Okay, so go home to New Jersey. And luckily for me, I had already been accepted to what is known as the Creative Entrepreneur Project at the Actors Fund. So I actually was going to have to Zoom into the classes anyway, because I was away in Virginia doing a show. And of course, the classes are held in New York City. So my plan was already to Zoom in. But now that everybody was sent home, everybody has to Zoom into the classes now. So the show closed, and a week later, I was plunged into the Creative Entrepreneur Project. So I actually didn't have the time to think about what I lost, if that makes sense. And so I started doing the course and, building. And so for me, I wanted to launch a book about auditioning in New York City, as well as workshops, because I've been in this career for now 12 years and also worked as a monitor for Actors Equity Association. So I have, some tips and tricks and all of these things that I wanted to share with fellow actors. So that was the catalyst for why I wanted to get into the Creative Entrepreneur Project. But then as time went on and the pandemic continued, I was like, well, we're not auditioning in New York right now. So I put the book and the workshops on the shelf, put them on hold, and I pivoted. And I pivoted right into a new podcast, which is called The Artist Pivot, which is a podcast basically talking to artists about what they're doing now because COVID has affected our industry, and talking to artists about their current pivots, their past pivots, and every pivot in between. Because in this time of the pandemic, we've kind of come to realize that artists, we've been pivoting since before the pandemic by choice, even though this pandemic has kind of forced us to pivot, but we've been pivoting by choice before this because that's our field. And so I started the podcast. And so that happened because COVID happened, this podcast happened. And then also I now have a voiceover agent. And so I've been doing voiceovers from home as well. I literally built myself a studio in my walk-in closet. And so that has been something that has come out of COVID-19 as well. So yes, I was uprooted and not doing musical theater right now, but a lot has come out of COVID for me.
You're mentioning the podcast and you're mentioning the voiceovers. How has it been for you to kind of transition into that? Are you enjoying yourself?
Yes, I am. I am enjoying myself. The transition, was a little unnerving. And what I mean by that is, okay, I've never done any of this before. I'm new to podcasting. I'm new to voiceovers, to be very honest. And I actually met my voiceover agent sitting next to her in a restaurant. Like, you hear those stories of people, oh, I just met my agent, doing I have one of those stories. I literally sat next to her in a restaurant. And to now be able to record voiceovers, I have a couple national voiceovers out right now, in my closet from home, what? This is crazy. So for me, the transition was just kind of okay, well, guess what, Ayana? This is what you have, work with what you have, and let's do it. And so the podcast for me, I also am very much enjoying it. I get to talk to my friends and my colleagues and, acknowledge them and let them know that they're not alone. All artists right now, no matter what medium you're in, performing arts, visual arts, we are all trying to figure it out right now. And so the podcast for me was to say, hey, I'm going to celebrate you, your little pivots, your big pivots, and just let you know that we're all going through it right now. So let's talk about it.
You mentioned the Actors Fund and the program, and I had a wonderful show dealing with the Actors Fund recently. And how was it to deal with them and the program? Were you pleased?
Very. I was very pleased. I love the Actors Fund. When we are in the city, you could always find me in that building for something. And I just loved the care and the attention. And the program, the Creative Entrepreneur Project, is for us artists because, we're taught the show part of show business. The business part, not so much. And so this program is helping us cultivate our own businesses, and they could be part of the arts and entertainment, or they could not be part of arts and entertainment. But the point is that you are a creative entrepreneur. You are a creative person, and you are also an entrepreneur. So we're going to meld those two and meld them together. And so the Actors Fund, for me, is one of the most amazing places and resources to have.
As the pandemic continues on, what does your future look like? What are some of the things that you'd like to accomplish?
So continuing my podcast, I'm working on season 2 right now. And so I'm excited to continue talking to artists about their pivots and about what they're making for themselves in this time, and to hopefully keep on to that. Even when our industry does open, what you have created for yourself in this time, how can you keep it? And I hope to encourage people to keep it as well. And for me, right now, voiceovers, that is what I see in my immediate future, is voiceovers, because I can be in the safety of my home and still have the connection with my agents and casting directors and the producers. And so I know that eventually musical theater will come back, but I'm not rushing it. I'm not rushing it. I want it to come back. I can't wait for it to come back, but I know that everything will come back in its due time, and I want everything to come back safely. So that's why I'm not rushing it, because I want everyone to be safe, and so that we can share again with audiences and share our stories. But in my immediate future, I see, season 2 of the podcast and more voiceovers.
Now, you mentioned that it's at your home and in a closet. Tell the actors and the viewers today, how on earth did you put that together in your home?
Oh, yes. I asked a lot of questions. That's how I put it together. I asked so many questions to my agents, to fellow actors who I know have voiceover careers, a little bit of Google, but mostly asking questions to people who I knew had the information. And so for me, it was, okay, what type of microphone should I get? Okay, I have clothes on one side of my closet, and then I have shelves on the other side. Should I pad the shelves? Should I leave the clothes on the shelves? Should I put paneling up in the closet? What interface do I need to buy? So I had so many questions, and luckily, like I said, I had my agents to ask and also fellow voiceover artists to ask these questions to put the studio together.
Do you recommend that I'm thinking of the actors and directors, et cetera, that are watching us today. Do you think that they should be thinking about something like that, putting something in their home and changing their lives?
That's for everybody. That's personal. And I say that because there are those who are like, I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to wait for the industry to open back up. And that is fine. If that's what you want to do, if you're like, I'm just going to, sit home and either continue my voice lessons or continue dance class, or maybe just write a monologue for myself, please do that. I think that in this pandemic, everyone has to find what they want to do and what they want to continue. So for me, it's like, yes, I miss musical theater. I miss it so much, but I also know that I have these other talents that I could use right now. And to be honest, the pandemic is giving me time to use it, because running around New York, auditioning for musical theater is a full-time job. And so if you would have told me pre-pandemic, oh, Ayana, you're going to have time now to pursue a podcast, you're going to have time to pursue these voiceovers, I would have looked at you like you're crazy. I don't have time for that. So in this pandemic, I encourage people to look for their other talents. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in the arts. It could be that you're like, I really like cooking. Okay, so pick up more cooking. What makes you happy in this time? Especially if you're like, I'm not sure if I want to pursue voiceovers or a podcast or, create something. No one's saying that you have to come out of this pandemic with a Pulitzer Prize, play or a Tony winning play. But take the time to really think about what you like, and also think about the other talents that you have that you can use in this time.
Would that be good advice to anybody that's watching today, to kind of take their time and kind of think about who they are and where they're going?
Absolutely. Absolutely. this time has allowed me to even think about it, discovering who am I outside of auditioning. You can get stuck in this tunnel vision of auditioning, and I just have to book the job and I have to do this. And then when it's all stripped away from you, you do have to sit down and go, oh, okay. Do I really like this? Do I really want to pursue this? Is this something that my soul is burning to do? And if the answer is yes, great. It's going to come back. But in the meantime, it is, finding what you really want to do. And then for me, also figuring out, how do you want to return to the industry? When our industry does pick back up, when theater is back, when filming, TV and film is fully back open, how do you want to be? What do you want to radiate? How do you want to walk back into the industry? Do you want to go back into the hustle and that, mindset of like, oh, well, I have to book this if I don't book this and kind of that worry that does come along with pursuing an acting career. Do you want to go back into that? I bet you the answer is no. So it's, in this time, it's figuring out who you are, figuring out what you really want to do with your career, and then how do you want to return? How do you want to step back into the industry as the person and the artist that you are?
We are winding down the interview, and I want to thank you again for being here. But do you have any closing thoughts for the viewers?
Any closing thoughts? Yes. I would say just know that everything is happening for a reason. So I know that our industry is shut down for those artists who were already in the industry, for those artists who wanted to pursue acting and are like, well, I was going to move to New York, but now it's closed. Now what do I do? My closing remarks to you would be, take this time to just sit and think. Take this time to build yourself a roadmap. Take this time to know, okay, these are the things that I want to pursue. So now, how do I lay groundwork for myself? Yeah, and ground yourself. That's what I say.
Ayana, thank you so much for being here today. I greatly appreciate it. And again, you've been tuned into Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host. Thanks so much for spending some of your day with me today. Greatly appreciate it. Talk to you soon. See you then.